Hey everyone, you're here with Mark on Perfect Gardens TV. So, got a very interesting update from one of my VIP growers, Stig. You've seen a number of his videos. He will be coming onto the channel soon for another update on his most recent grow. We're able to help assist him to go from 2 pounds all the way up to close to 15 pounds of biomass, including the close trim after harvest and trimming your dried flower. So, in the last two grows, because of his location and still the legality situation, even just getting seeds is difficult. Everything has to be on dot. If not, you're going to jail, right, for a year. Where he lives, if you come up with a dirty piss test, you lose your license for a year, even though you're not intoxicated and nothing happens, right? You're not having it smoked for weeks, months, 6 months. But if it comes up in the most tiniest bit, you lose your license for a year, lose your job, and it's a total life reset. So with this situation, he had to purchase a larger amount of batch seeds. And on our first grow with it, some of his crop permeated out. He ended up taking a big risk, which paid off on this last grow using the same seeds, I believe from the same batch. He can clarify when he comes on. And we got to the end of the grow and he ended up getting just a very tiny bit of bud rot, which at this point, he's never gotten bud rot. So we started to implement strategies this next row because once again, he's going to be using his seeds to get him through very critical stages, especially when you know that the genetics you're using is unstable, that it has the potential to hermy, it has the potential for bud rot. It's a weaker genetic situation. Even if you're giving it the best ideal everything, when you're dealing with unstable genetics, there are things you can do to bring in a very successful grow. And even with the weaker genetics, again, I have to get him on the phone, but I believe dry flower wise, I believe he yielded somewhere around 5 kilos. So I believe that's around 12.5 pounds, not including the dry biomass. You include that, he still gets probably close to around that 15-pound biomass mark. So what are these stages that I'm discussing? First off, when you're dealing with the unstable genetics, when the seed pops, the first couple of days is super critical. And why is that? This is something I read 10 years ago. I definitely should have went back and looked up to see if that article still exists or if it's still in use. But I believe if I remember reading this article, I remember reading something like seeds after they pop within the first 3 days, they're still changing their genetics slightly to be able to adjust to the environment that they're in. That's why potentially we see the plant as it initially pops out of the seed, it begins to elongate, looking for light, things along those lines. Again, I hope this isn't bro science, but this is actual real science if I remember straight. So the first 3 days, right after you pop the seeds, if you are dealing with unstable genetics, is, in my viewpoint, the first stage to be incredibly critical. So what would I recommend doing? First off, obviously not overwatering. Make sure the light intensity isn't too much. I personally would be popping the seeds in a full living soil biodynamic situation where bacteria is thriving. I would definitely be using the Drops of Balance and products like BAM that you're going to want to inoculate your seeds prior to popping. So all of those things I would say would strengthen the potential of the genetics that you're using. Obviously, having a healthy environment where, once again, not too hot and your lights aren't too strong, you're having consistent watering practices, all of those things are going to be, once again, super critical during the veg stage. The next most critical stage, though, in my viewpoint, would be the first 3 weeks into flowering, right? I would reduce the light stress no matter what. I would just be extra critical during these first 3 weeks because during the first 3 weeks is when the plant might produce the male side to self-pollinate itself. But once you get through these first 3 weeks, then the next stage after that, the most critical stage will be bringing in the harvest and the bud rot stages. And that's going to be during weeks, 6.5 on is what I would say. And once again, I would say if you're dealing with unstable genetics, obviously you have to have a strong environment. All your practices have to be on lock. But what are these certain stages that I think could create exponential improvement to the point where you can and bring in a successful harvest. That's during the popping of the seeds, during the first 3 weeks into flowering, and during the last 2 weeks into flowering. If you focus in on being extra critical, reducing the stress during those time periods while maintaining a healthy grow environment the rest of the time, I think you can definitely be very successful with unstable genetics. And like I said, we're just finished up a very successful grow 2 with these unstable genetics, and we're now going to be implementing new strategies to deal with this problem while we use up the rest of the genetic before he has to once again expose himself to danger to find genetics so that he can continue his passion for growing this plant. Remember, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. And I'm just sharing observations and perspectives and opinions from a grow I've now been consulting and able to watch critically for going on almost 4 years. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later.